I have
Who, the weatherman?
Nun test 59. Rabbi Yossi Aglili Omer B'Tosh Shenamar V'Nosata Sakir B'No Moed. You have to put the wash basin B'No Moed U'Bein HaMizbeach. And then Ves Mizrach HaOla Sam Pesach Mishkan Ol Moed. The Mizbeach also had to be Pesach Mishkan. But only the Mizbech b'Pesach Chomoed, v'lo Kior b'Pesach Chomoed. So the question is, how do you fit this all in?
Ernie, I just want to ask you a question from yesterday, from learning this parak. I don't understand. They didn't have a Messiah from before. They were in Babel, but it was after the Beis Hamikdash. They didn't have a Messiah before this.
Yeah,
where
three-way machlokas tanoim, where the Mizbech was, whether it was Kula b'Tzafon, Kula b'Dorim, or halfway. It's 70 years.
No, but
Walter asks a good question. 70 years went by, and there was already a machlokas tanoim where the Mizbeach was.
they must have had people who remembered. Come on. They must have had people who remembered.
One Tana remembered it, that it was B'Dorim. One Tana remembered that it was B'Tzafon. One Tana remembered that it was in between.
Okay.
What do you want me to say? That was.
I know.
That's why we have a machlokas tanoim.
I get it, but you know, when we know on the Beis Hamikdash, there's no machlokas how the Beis Hamikdash was built or anything else like that, because we know what it is. If you know what everything was in the Beis Hamikdash, why would you know what the Mizbeach is? Where the Mizbeach is?
they lost the photos, Walter.
Because the psukim are ambiguous, and they had to learn it out through logic, through the various. We went through a whole analysis yesterday. Comes out.
No, I went through that.
And it comes out the Rambam holds it was B'Dorim. That the Mizbeach, the pictures we have, it's always B'Dorim. Primarily. And we'll see today, a little bit today, why we end up that it's B'Dorim. But it's like
because you knew what everything is. Yeah. You know where the kior is. You know where everything is. You said like the way they didn't know.
They don't know where the kior is. That's what we're going to learn today.
Okay.
No, meaning where was the kior in reference to the Mizbeach and the Pesach? So that depends on where the Mizbeach was. Whether it was B'Dorim, it was in the middle.
Exactly. Okay.
So very good point. I mean, it's not the only machloikis and kochim and that we have. So it wasn't a long period of time. Okay. Now, you can say even more. Forget about the 70 years in Bavel. The Beis Hamikdash was destroyed 70 CE, and they moved right away to Yavna. So Rabbi Kiva, Rabbi Shmuel, they lived during the Beis Hamikdash. They knew it. Yet you see, they argue, even in their generation. Right? It's not the Bavel. I'm not Bayis Sheni. All of our descriptions is Bayis Sheni, not Bayis Rishon. Okay. Where was the kior? So Ben Ha'ulam L'Mizbeach. Now, The ulam is that large opening into the heichal, which was 20 amas, right there. It narrowed down to the opening itself to 10 amas. And the question is, where was it in reference to the Mizbech? Moshuch kima klape adoro, a little bit south. Here's the picture. I'm going to send you a picture. Send everybody a picture right now of what I'm talking about. Daf Yomi. Okay, so that picture you can see the Mizbeach and the Pesach Ulam, and the Kior is sort of a little bit on the southern, because this is an example where the Mizbech is Kulo B'tzofo. And then based on that sheet, the Kior would be a little bit to the south of it. So Mike Sover, what does Rabbi Yosef Glili hold? Ik Sover, Kula Mizbech B'Dorom Koi. If the Mizbech is all in the Dorom, so then Nukmimi Koislach B'Dorom. The Kior could be from the wall of the Eichal to the south, which is to the south of the Pesach. Beinulam Mizbeach. Binamik Sover Kedusha Seichel Ulam Chadu. And even if you're going to say that the Kedusha of the Ulam and the Pesach of the Eichel are the same, remember, there's an extra 5 amas on either side of the Ulam towards the south. So Nukme Mikoisel Ulam Vladoro. It could be from the wall of the Ulam to the south. Beina Ulam LaMizbech. Also between the Ulam and the Mizbech. Idamik Savar, if it's Chetziv B'Tzafim Chetziv B'Dorim, half, Nukme Mikoisel Heichal V'Ladorim. It could be from the wall of the Heichal to the south. Bein Ulam LaMizbech. V'inamik Savar Kedushas Ulam V'Heichal Chadu. If there was the same Kedusha between the Ulam and the Pesach HaHeichal, and now your 5 is smaller, Nukmemi Koisel Umvla Daram Ben Ulam Mizbech. Could also be to the south of the Mizbech as long as it's between the Ulam and Mizbeach. Elalav Mishum Kserva Kulam Mizbech B'Tzofon. Comes out, it's the way I just sent you the picture. The whole Mizbech to the Tzofon. And the Kior is Mamish opposite the Pesach HaEichel, a little bit to the south of the Mizbech. Kinami mukmis lamikoisel heichel v'letzafon. Even when you're going to put it to the north of the Pesach HaHeichel, havale beinu v'lamizbeach, that could also be technically between the ulam v'lamizbeach. So why necessarily you have to put it to the south? The nukmi mikoisel ulam letzafon beinu ulam v'lamizbeach, they could put it in the north. Akra, there's a pasuk. V'shachato so al yerech hamizbeach tzafona. You need room north of the Mizbeach to Shecht. And if the Mizbeach is Kula B'Tzofon, she ate Tzofon Ponim Mikalim. That makes more sense if the Mizbeach was Kula B'Doro. Man Tan the Polygon Rabbi Yosef Glili. Who is that Tan? Rabbi Yezer ben Yaakov, the Tanya. Rabbi Yezer ben Yaakov, Oimer, Tzafon L'fnei Hashem, she ate Tzofon Ponim Miklum. There was nothing in the north. Afilu Mizbeach couldn't be there. So that's proof that the Mizbeach was Kula B'Dorom, and that's how the Rambam ends up paskening. Amarav. Nu Alocha. Mizbeach Shenifgam. Let's say Mizbeach has been damaged. It's missing stones. Kol HaKochim Shenishchadu Sham Psulin. Any korbanos that's shechted is going to be possible. And Mikrahu B'Yadenu V'Shachachunu was a pasuk, but that gives us the proof to that, but they forgot it. Kisolak Rav Kahana, when Rav Kahana, who's the Talmid of Rav in Bavel, went to Eretz Yisrael, Ashkechei, Rav Shimon Berebi, he made up with Rav Shimon, the son of Rebbe, the Karmi Mishum, Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Yosi. Minayim Mizbech Shenifkam Shekol HaKochim Shenishchuru Sham Psulim. How does if the Mizbech is damaged, then any hegdish that's shechted there is possible. Shenemar, V'zovachta Allah v'solasecha v'shlamecha. V'chi olav atazovech, you don't shecht on top of the Mizbeach. You shecht on the side of it. Ella, it means a general, kishu sholem. The Mizbech has to be complete, v'lo kishu chaser. Amar hainu kradish tamit le, l'Rav. And that was the pasuk that Rav forgot. Rav Yochanan Amar echad zav psulim. Not just korbanos that were shechted at the time that the Mizbech was pogum. Even live animals that were waiting to be shechted, they're possible. Now, b'may pumifagi, what's the machlokes Rav and Rav Yochanan? Rav savar balechayim and nidchem. Once you shecht an animal, then it could be nidche. But a live animal cannot be pushed aside. As long as they're alive, then you can't be, there's no dichui of them. Even if the Mizbech was pogum. Rav Yochanan savar balechayim nidchem. You can ruin even a live animal. And since they were pushed aside because the Mizbech was pogum, you can't correct it. And we're going to ask a kasha on Rav, Meisvei. Kol hakochim shahayu ad shelo nivnei Mizbech. Let's say somebody had designated an animal to be hegdish, and the Mizbech had not been built yet. V'achar kach nivnei Mizbech psulim. Now this is, we're talking about before they built the Mizbech for the Bayis Sheni. They had designated some animals before they had to be hegdish, before they built it. So nivne, if prior to that there was no Mizbeach, so tchun mikorninu. So there's no Beis HaMikdash. There's no, everybody would agree that they're nidche from the get-go. Ela ad shelo neras hamizbeach. We're talking about Bayis Rishon before it was destroyed. That is, before the Beis HaMikdash was destroyed, these animals were hugdash l'kodshim, and the Mizbech was okay, and then it was destroyed, so now they become nidche. Now when they build 70 years later, Mizbech and Bayis Sheni, they're puzzled. Well, that doesn't make any sense. Neras ha'iskinlu, these are animals that are 75 years old. So they're certainly not roy lakrov because they're too old. Ella, they were magdashit during Bayis Sheni time. Before the and there was a Mizbeach built. And these were designated hegdish ad shelo nifka Mizbeach, before it was somehow broken. Then the Shomronim, the people that were chepping the Jews, that's why with the story of Esther and Achashverosh, remember, Koresh let them build, and then they removed the permission to build, Vashti, and now they're like ruining the parts that were built. So now, those animals that were hugdash, while the Mizbech was okay, and now they were pogum, it's psuling. And that lechor is even live animals, not just the ones that were shechted. More of a loturutzikum etarts. Didn't you answer this already? Ema shenishchetu, not higdishu, those korbanos that were shechted before the Mizbech was nifkam. Then it was nifkam psulim. But there's no raya that the animals that are alive are nidche. The Amar of Gidol Amar Rav Mizbeach Shenekar. You have the golden Mizbeach, the Mizbeach that you offered the Torah in the Heichal. that was not there. Maktirin Ktoros b'mkomo. You don't need a Mizbech. You can burn the Ktoros where the Mizbech is supposed to be. So the Mizbech itself is not Ma'akev. Amarava. So you're right. Even though all the Azor, the floor of the Azor is kosher to burn the Emurim, Moida Rav Yehuda b'domim, that you need a Mizbech. You could burn limbs even if the Mizbech was not there, but the Zrika Saddam has to be on the Mizbech. Ochanami Moida Rav b'domim. So if you shechted an animal and received their blood, and then the Mizbech is pogon, they're nidcha, and the korban is puzzle, you can't do Zrika. Now, what is this, my Rav Yehuda? My Rav Yehuda, the Tanya. This is by Shlomo HaMelech, when they did the Chanukas of the Bayis Rishon. Vayom Ahu Kiddush HaMelech Toch HaChatzer. Hello? Yeah, I'm teaching Daf Yomi right now. We'll have to speak later. We'll have to speak later. We'll have to speak later. No, I have another shiur at 8:00. We'll have to speak later. No, you'll have to call tomorrow. Okay, bye-bye. Vayomahu Kidesh HaMelech Toch HaChatzer. He had to be Mekadesh the Azara. Why? Ki Mizbeach she'asa Moshe ha'nechoshes asher lifnei Hashem katan me'achil. The Mizbech that they had, that Moshe Rabbeinu built, was too small. They're going to be makriv a lot of these korbanos on the floor, because we're talking about tens of thousands of animals. So he had to be magdish the Azara in order to be makriv all these korbanos. Now there's a machlokes chachamim how to understand what's going on here. Dvorim kichsovon, div Rabbi Yehuda. That the Mizbeach that was built for the Beis HaMikdash was too small. And therefore, he was Meskadesh, the Chotzer, to use the Chotzer as like a Mizbeach. Armela Rav Yoitzi. V'halok kvar nemar elef oiles yalla shlom al Mizbeach ahu. Now, the Mizbeach that Moshe Rabbeinu built was Chamesh Amos Oirech v'Chamesh Amos Rochav, 5 by 5. And the Kronos was Amma by an Amma. And then you have an Amma that the Kohanim have to be able to walk on top. So the grill of Moshe's Mizbeach was an Amma Lama. Yet they offered 1,000 olos. This was years before they built the Beis HaMikdash, when Shlomo Melech was makriv oilos in Givon. Remember, the Mishkan had been moved from Nov to Givon after Nov was destroyed, before he built the Beis HaMikdash. So he had 1,000 animals on a grill of an amma by an amma. Here, Ilu Beis Oilamim Hu Oimer, Vayizbach Shlomo Ez Zevach HaShlomim Asher Zevach Lashem, Bokar Esrim Ushnai Melech, 22,000 cattle, and Son Me'av Esrim Melech. When you see how many olos per amma, the Mizbech, there were more korban, 1,000 per amma. There were many more density in Moshe's Mizbech than in Shlomo's Mizbech. So the Mizbech that Shlomo built was not too small. Elamau Koten Me'achil. What did it mean that the Mizbech was too small? It's not the Mizbech that Shlomo built in the Beis HaMikdash. It's the Mizbech Nechoshes of Moshe that from that day on, they didn't use anymore. But that's not the reason why they had to be Miskadish Tazorah. It was Ka'adam Ha'omer L'chaveru Ploini Nanasu. When a person is describing another, he says he's a midget. He really wants to say it's Pasul Avoda, but he doesn't come out and say it fully. It's a Lishna Ma'alya. He doesn't say he's Pasul. So it's the same thing here. They didn't want to say anything bad about Moshe's Mizbeach. Rav Yehuda, how does he respond? Shapir Ka'amar Rav Yossi. This approach of Rav Yossi makes sense. Rav Yehuda Tamei, the Amar, Mizbech Shas Moshe Gadol Haya. Mizbech Moshe was plenty big. It wasn't small. The Tanya, Chamesh Amos Oirech v'Chamesh Amos Rochav. The Mizbech's diameter was 5 by 5. Dvorim Kichsov and the Rav Yossi. Rav Yehuda Omer Nemer Kan Ravua v'Nemer Lalan Ravua. It by Yechezkel that he also envisions a future Mizbech. It also says it's square. Malahalon sheme'emtziuso haya moeded. There they measured 12 amas from the middle. So it was like really 24 by 24. Avkan memtziuso haya moeded. This chamesh amos, the Mizbech was really 10 by 10, not 5 by 5. And thus, there was, even if they were going to use Moshe's Mizbech, it wasn't big enough. So he's Miskadesh the Azara. Hasami Nolon. How do you know over there that when it says in Yechezkel 12, that it's really meaning 12 measuring from the middle? T'chsiv. V'ha Ariel, which is the noun for the Mizbech, Shtemesrei Oirech b'Shtemesrei Rochav Ravua, al Arba Revoisa. Means it was 12 amal chol ruach, 12 by 12. So it was really, 12 from the middle to the side. So it's really 24 by 24. Maybe it leads 12 by 12. You measure it from the middle. Rav Yossi, what does he do? He gomer gzer shava goyva hu de gomer. It's not the width and length, it's the height, the Tanya. By Moshe's Mizbech, it says, V'shalosh amos komaso, 3 amos high. Dvorim kichosov and Rabbi Yehuda. That was the height of the Mizbech. Rabbi Yossi oimer nemer kan ravua, square, v'nemer lahalon, by the Ktoiris Mizbech, also ravua. Ma lahalon, goiva pishnaim ka'arko. The Mizbech HaKtoris was 2 amos high and 1 amos in length. So the height was double the length. Avkan if the Mizbech Oila was 10 amos high, Pishnaim Korko, it had to be 5 amos. So it's really 5 by 5. According to Rabbi Yossi, over the Rabbi Yehuda, Valok Vanemar, Vesechatzer Mea Ama, the Koma Chamesh Amos. So the Mishkan was 100 Amma, and it's the height of the walls surrounding it was 5 Amas high. That's the Kale Chatzer Mishkan. Now, if you're holding that the Mizbech was this tall, was 10 amas high, everyone's going to see him from outside. You need sneers. It's not covered to do it that way. Bes Mosach Pesach Shar Chatzar Shel Mishkan Mizbeach. So they're all connected. Ma Mishkan Eser Amos, Af Mizbeach Eser Amos. So just like the walls of the Mishkan was 10 Amos, the Mizbeach was 10 Amos. And we'll continue. But we'll continue tomorrow.